Okay, guys, so I didn't find a video that I loved about showing you how to do the charting method. So I thought, you know what? I could do the charting method. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you exactly how to set this up. I think this is another note-taking method that you might find something that you could be using in a number of different classes. It works really well, especially for reading materials. Sometimes it's a little more difficult to use in a lecture unless you already kind of know what the topic's going to be. But for reading materials or videos, it's really easy to set this up. So I'm going to go ahead and start it just in a basic Google Doc because that's all you really need. And we're just going to use a few little tools that are really easy to use, like inserting tables to make a chart. Okay. So whenever you're using the charting method, it's always important to start up at the top just with a title, whatever you're doing. And seeing that this one's going to be about strategy 4, I'm just going to put that up here. I'll put College Smart strategy 4. And it's actually called Knowing How to Talk. So I'm going to put that title in there as well. And then typically you might want to put something like, just so that you can keep them separate, you might want to put your name up there. And you might also want to put the date so you can remember when you took those notes, right? Then to set this up, this is the part that's really easy. All you got to do on this one in the charting method, and it depends on how you want to set it up, but for the most part, if you just go to insert, right? And I'm going to choose a table, and I'm just going to make it a table right now that's only 1 by 4. And I'll show you how this works because it's really easy to set this up, right? The 4 headings are what I'm going to put on this table. So the first heading is just going to be my main topics. And those will come directly from the chapter. My second heading is going to be the key concepts and ideas. And so with these, all I have to do is use the chapter, read through the topic, and figure out what are some of the main ideas from there. What are some of the concepts that they're trying to teach me? The third one I'm going to use is I'm going to use applications, like how can I apply this, right? So how can I apply whatever they're teaching me? And or if they give examples or if I've got personal examples I could pull in, that's what I would put there. And then the last one, kind of like in the when we did Cornell notes, right? We had the one section that was called the questions or cues, right? So that's what this section is going to be for. I think this will work better though. I'm going to switch this because right now it's in portrait mode. So I'm going to switch it over. Instead of in portrait mode, I want to make it to where I can see it a little better, and I'm going to widen it out by putting it into landscape mode. Okay. So I'm just going to go down to File and look at Page Setup down here. And in Page Setup, I'm going to change it to landscape mode. And I'm also going to make really small margins because I like it where you've only got a 1/2 inch margin all the way around. It just gives me more work area. And then I hit OK, and I'm all set. So now I've got my headings, right? Each of my rows is headed. The next thing I'm going to do now, just to make a new row, for each of the concepts that I want to cover, all I got to do is if I hit the tab key over here, it gives me a whole new row, right? And so now I'm just going to take our chapter and break it into sections, right? So if I come over here to the College Smart chapter, which I've already saved here, and I scroll through it, you'll see there are distinct sections, right? Like how talking makes things happen. That's a section. And then when I come down here a little bit farther, there's one called Talking Gives You Personal Power and Confidence, right? And if I keep scrolling, right, each one of these things, how to practice talking, all of the main headings, they work out really good for you to put in as your main topics, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start those up. I'll just call the first section section 1 because it's all in that chapter, right? And I'll just call it what the title says on that section, called Talking Makes Things Happen. Okay, then I've got that one all set. Now I'm not going to go through and do all the other sections right now. I'm just setting up my chart. So to get a new row for the next section, I just got to keep tabbing again, and then I can start with section 2. And that section in the book was called Talking Gives You Personal Power and Confidence. Okay, then I can go on to the next section. I'm just going to keep adding the section titles in here because that way I'll have the chart all set up so as I'm reading, I can fill in the rest. And this one was called How to Practice Talking. All right, and again, I'm just tabbing over to get a new row. And after I've hit tab, I'm going to put in section 4 because this chapter just has 5 sections. So I'll break it down by each section. Oops, say the word 5 when you're trying to type 4. Guess what shows up? All right, so section 4 was called Talking Your Way into the Future. And then I've got one last section to add in here, which is section 5. And that section was called Up Close and Personal. Right at the end of each chapter, there's that little section of Up Close and Personal where Dr. Bob talks with some of the students and gets some personal information and puts it all together. All right, so at this point, you've got your chart set up, and all you have to do from here is fill in the blanks as you go. What are the key concepts? What are some applications either that he said or that I've got that I can use? And then what would be a good question or cue to kind of help me when I want to study, right? So if I want to study for this chapter, what questions and cues would I have to help me in section 1? And you'll go do each of those for all 5 of your sections. And that's all you have to do for the charting method, okay? So try this one out with strategy 4. We'll see how this works, and we'll try a new form of note taking when we do strategy 5. All right, good luck.